Hi everyone, and welcome to Free Range Diva. I have been on a quest to restore my grandmother's rose garden. Here's my story. My family moved into this house when I was 16 years old. My mother, my father, my grandmother, and me. My grandmother, who worked for North American Aviation in the communications department, was an avid gardener and immediately set about to bring some beauty to the foundational shrubs that were in this garden. She planted hydrangeas, azaleas, hibiscus, gladiolas, camellias. In fact, 4 of her camellias are still alive and still in the garden, and they're really, really big, and 1 is in bloom. And of course, she planted her favorite, her passion, roses. She set up an area of the garden specifically as her rose garden, where she grew roses in shades of red, yellow, white, and pinks. But after she passed in 1993, the garden was neglected and over the years really began to show its age. Some of the bushes died, but some still remain. After the massive rains of earlier this year, I noticed that none of the bushes in her rose garden were blooming. This motivated me to action, and I began the project of restoring Laura's rose garden. Today I want to share before and after pictures, my plan of attack, what I have accomplished so far, and what I hope the garden will look like this time next year. The first thing I did was to prune away anything that looked dead or diseased and to really clean out the garden bed. Then I fertilized all the plants with This is the rose food that my grandmother used. It's from E.B. Stone Organics, and it's a little bit harder to find locally than when she was alive and gardening, but I still found it, and it was important for me to use exactly what she used. So I watered the fertilizer in, and soon thereafter I began to see blooms. Here and there, 1 or 2 blooms. It wasn't a lot, but it was enough to give me the confidence to keep going. I garden in Southern California, gardening zone 10B. That means that our coldest temperatures average between 35 and 40 degrees. It also means that our growing season ends usually mid-December and then starts up again the 2nd week in January. Basically, we can garden year-round. Zone 10B is a very small growing zone in the United States, but in addition to California, it also covers areas of South Florida, southernmost coastal regions of Europe, that includes Portugal, Spain, and Italy, the southernmost regions of China, northern regions of Australia, central regions of South and Central America, and interior and coastal regions of Africa. Just a little side note in case you were wondering. So in our zone, fall is the perfect time of year to plant perennials, shrubs, and foundational plants. And so that's what I have been primarily doing. I wanted to get everything in the ground while the temperature of the soil is still warm, even though the air temperature is cooling off. This means that the roots really have a chance to grow and get established before the hot and dry summer weather hits. So my goal is to get the structure and the foundational plants in the garden done by the end of the year. So far, I'm on track. I'm almost finished. I am here standing in front of one of my grandmother's original rose bushes. This is, I believe, an iceberg. Don't quote me on that, though. I'm guessing because it's at least 40 years old, this bush, if not more. But it does have the white blooms, and this particular bush has been blooming all season. It's never out of bloom. Now I'm going to move right over here, right next to me, because that is one of the latest additions that have come into the garden that I want to show you. This is the first rose that I purchased to add to the garden. It's the Titan rose. That's the name of it, Rose Titan. And I got it from Heirloom Roses, so it's on its own root. It was a tiny thing when I first got it 2 months ago that was planted defoliated with only a few canes, and in the interim it has put on all these beautiful leaves. It has even pushed out one bloom so far. The blooms here are profuse. They're a deep apricot that fades to a soft peachy pink. Did I say it was a floribunda? If I didn't, it's a floribunda. This rose right next to it is one of my grandmother's original roses, and this year it did manage to push out about 3 or 4 blooms. They are a deep, deep, rich red color. It also has, this was grafted because it has suckers growing out of it. So when I do my January pruning, I'm cutting all of those off because they do take a lot of the energy away from the original rose. This is the first rose I purchased from Otto & Sons Nursery. This is called Twilight Zone, and it's a cross between the Della Reese rose and the Ebb Tide. It's a grandiflora. It was in full bloom when I first got it. And here, the blooms will get even a deeper purple when it cools off, when the temperature cools down. This has a very strong clove spice fragrance that you can smell it as you walk by. And it's complemented with these really dark, deep green leaves. This rose also came from Otto & Sons. It's called Angel Face. This is a floribunda that was introduced in 1968. It recently bloomed, and it has lavender petals that are edged in ruby. It also has a very strong citrus fragrance. Both of the last 2 roses will get to be about 3 to 4 feet in height, so they're almost at their mature height. Over Thanksgiving weekend, Black Friday, Otto & Sons had 50% off everything sale, so I did pick up this climber from David Austin. This is called the Pilgrim. It has soft yellow buds on it, and this is what they call a medium climber with a maximum height of about 12 feet. This one's going to go against the brick wall, but I'm not going to put it in the ground until I get trellises. They're on order and they're on the way, so once the trellises are up, then I will put this rose up. From this direction you can see that I planted Sweet Alyssum along the border, and you're also looking at a soaker hose that I put throughout the bed to help with watering. And all of the Sweet Alyssum gives it a very ethereal, soft, fairy-like quality to the garden. And because roses are so structured, that is a much needed change. Additionally, for some color, I've added some petunias down here, although when the rains start, I don't think these are going to make it. I've lost a couple of petunia plants that were down here in this area during the hurricane, the tropical storm Hillary a few months ago. So for now, they're there and they're very pretty. And then just to add some color, I did pansies and violas in this little placeholder, I guess you could call it, that I got from Home Depot. This is the before picture taken during the eclipse. As you can see, it's just been overrun by this grass. So this week, this is all going to be cleaned out by our gardener. So panning over from the roses, I want to show you the rest of the garden that I am working on. In the before, you saw this was all covered in that grassy flower, and so I have made some changes, and I hope that this garden bed will be all drought tolerant. That's the plan, at least. These are lemon cypress. They're the Wilma variety. These are very slow growers. They like poor soil, don't want to be fertilized. Basically, you just want to let them slowly grow to their height. And their height is going to be about 8 feet, and they'll be 2 feet wide. These are going to be a nice vertical element as they grow. This probably will not stay. This came from somewhere that I believe was part of another rose that either suckered and became this or seeded. But hasn't bloomed. I doubt it will. So I will probably have this removed. And down here are some little pansies that I had left over, so I just put them in the ground. And I forgot, when you touch the leaves, they smell like lemons. So when you see, it's really nice. And so when you see this type of tree in your supermarkets and garden centers right now that say they only get to be 2 to 3 feet high, that's not this, because the leaves do not have that lemon smell. So this is a lemon cypress Wilma. And so quickly moving over, I want you to see my foundation plants, and that is the 2 Nandinas. They're called Flirt Nandina, and then the euonymus in the back, and over to the left, to your left, is over here, is over there. That is an encore azalea that's just coming out of bloom. It blooms. Its blooms are dying off right now, but it will be white. And encore azaleas bloom 3 times during the year. So I'm lucky that they got a third bloom out of them. A close-up of this foliage shows you that it's very, very soft, and it turns red in the fall. So it's absolutely beautiful. You can kind of see what was green. Let's take a look at this one. This one's not quite as far along, but you can see it's green in the summer and then turns red in the fall. Flirt Nandina. 2 Nandinas here in the front, the euonymus in the back, which will get to be about 4 to 5 feet tall. And then these are just some petunias that I stuck down here from Proven Winners just to see how they do. The purpose of the David Austin rose is going to be, I'm going to put a trellis right here, and then that rose is going to climb up and hide this part of the wall. Between that rose and the azalea, I should have a big wall of white and yellow color once these plants mature and get established, because this should get between 4 and 5 feet tall. We have a very acidic soil, and so azaleas, camellias do really well here. So I've put 3 azaleas so far throughout the garden, and this is by far the one this is the oldest and most established of all the azaleas I've planted. One of the challenges of gardening in a very mild climate like Zone 10B is pests. Their life cycle never ends because there's no winter. And so this has been, it's sad to see it right now. This has been attacked by rose sawfly larvae. They eat the leaves, and they had eaten up to about here. So I removed all the leaves, did some pruning, and we are seeing new leaves coming out. And a lot of these leaves have not been touched yet. But to get rid of it, you use either a spinosad, I think that's how you say it, or insecticidal soap, or neem oil. And I have been using all 3 in rotation. It makes me sad to see it, but it does look like it's starting to come back. So if you have any information about rose sawfly larvae, because I don't want to lose this bush. As you can see, it's huge, and it was topped off, so it normally would grow up another foot from where it is now. So yeah. And in January, I will do a hard prune on the older bushes to force them into dormancy. Then, when spring rolls around, I'm going to concentrate on adding companion plants that will add more color and support the health of the roses. So things like lavender, marigolds, daisies, rosemary, and more of the sweet alyssum. The successes of the past few months have really inspired me to make more enhancements in other parts of the garden. You saw the azaleas, and I also hope to add hydrangeas, viburnum, lots of California native plants in the front and in the backyard as well. I'll also be growing more food crops, and I have a plan of attack that should increase my yields as well as giving me much more bigger and vigorous plants. These are big goals, but gardening is a journey, and I can't wait to see what happens next. Thank you so much for watching today. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends. Talk to me about your gardens, talk to me about what you've been doing, and if you have any words of encouragement for me as I continue to work on my grandmother's rose garden, please let me know in the comments below. And finally, please consider subscribing so you won't miss the next video here at Free Range Diva. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I really appreciate you, and until I see you in my next video, I want to wish you a wonderful day, a wonderful week. Take good care of yourselves, and I will talk to you again very, very soon. Bye!